straight off of the block here about some of the conundrums he's had to deal with. But what are the grace that he's got at Canfield. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we bring in the head basketball coach for the Canfield Cardinals. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Vlajkovich. Coach, how are you?
Good. Just want to say thank you for having me on, and appreciate everything you guys do for the Valley and for local sports.
Coach, an honor and a pleasure, certainly, to be spending some time with you and talking about hoops. Hard to believe it's on us already, but for you, is this a 365 thing? Are you always got hoops on the brain?
Well, we just kind of talked about this last night at our parent meeting. I think the general public just thinks that sometimes we show up and during our season or during a game night, and they see it from 30,000 feet. But ground level is a 365-day a year job if you're doing it right and building a program. And we had 200 plus kids last night in our whole program picture, which from kindergarten little dribblers all the way through our varsity team. So we had every youth team there. So organizing an entire program is a lot of work. I'm fortunate enough I have an amazing staff and an amazing booster club, an amazing administration that kind of help us do some of that stuff. So.
Coach, since you've taken over Canfield, it's elevated into a different level. I mean, when you got this program, it was already pretty good, and then you've taken it to the next level since you've got it. How do you keep raising the standard? How do you keep raising the goals and the bar for this Canfield team every year?
Well, I think our program does it. Like this group this year, we lost 7 seniors last year. We lost our all-time leading assist leader. We lost in Drew Shapiro. We lost a kid like Jake Delisio. We lost a kid like Dom Cruz the year before. Tony Russo, Ben Weaver, those kind of guys. So this group just wants to keep proving that they're in that same conversation. And when you watch success for the last couple of years, you don't want to be the team that lets that down. And when I was fortunate enough to play for Coach Cullen in the 90s, it was kind of a similar thing. They were winning district titles, and that was kind of an expectation, and conference titles, and that was kind of always the goal and the expectation. So I think the past success just keeps setting the standard, and 3 straight 20-win seasons and 2 league titles and 2 district titles. That doesn't mean anything this year, but it does kind of set the expectation for our guys.
Coach, I was talking to a prominent figure in Canfield in the school system, and I said, with so much talent across the board at Canfield, what season is the most important, when it comes to the Canfield Cardinals? And the answer was very simple. It was very pointed. It was the next one. When you have all these players that play different sports and you have to share players here in Northeast Ohio, how much is that to be a challenge to be able to focus on basketball like you do and like you said, 365 days a year?
Well, it's not so much the sharing of athletes. I mean, we do. Joe does a good job of that. Coach Weimer does a good job of that. Trag, we all do a good job of that. I think a couple thoughts on that. One, it's the hardest part isn't the sharing of athletes. It's the timing in which you get them. And I joke with Coach Ignazio, Coach Schneider, they get 30 seconds to call a play. I would love to have that. And they get their guys for 8 weeks in the summer, and I'd love to have that too. I think we're going to get Bryce back this week, maybe Landon back this week, maybe. But they haven't. Obviously, because of the great football success, and it's a credit to them and the football program. It's not the sharing of athletes; it's just the timing of we opened with Cheney and a darn good team in 8 days or 9 days, however long a week from Friday. So it's more that than anything else. And the second thing is I think it shows how important system is. If kids can hit the ground running with stuff they're familiar with and stuff that they've run for 2 years or 3 years, whether it be a defensive concept, an out of bounds play, an offensive concept, offensive system, I think we make ourselves a little more efficient so that when we are missing kids, and I guess last on that is we've taken this opportunity the last 3 weeks to make sure we get a lot of different guys ready. We've got some young guys getting some reps at the varsity scrimmages. We got some reserves that are starting and getting some minutes, and obviously some of these football guys are going to step into a little different role. So you just got to be flexible. I wish it wasn't quite that easy, but or wasn't that hard, but we're working.
You just talked about the timing of when you get players and the difficulty that brings. But the flip side of that is you get players that are on successful programs that kind of know what it means to be in a successful locker room and have that confidence of success. How much does that help your culture and your team confidence when you have players coming off of a football season, let's say, where they're very, very confident because they just had a very successful football season. They know what it takes to have a winning locker room.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that point. And our culture has been very good, and those guys only contribute to it. Guys like Landon, guys like Bryce, guys like Donnie Furco, those are Benny Ignazio, DJ Porter. Those are some of the main guys coming from football, and they do an amazing job of understanding what we are. But to watch those guys have all that success, that's going to carry over into into our sport.
Naturally, when you're talking Canfield basketball, there's a lot of success in the history. What things are you looking forward to kind of keeping as a staple of the program this year? And what things should we be looking forward to that maybe we haven't seen before?
Well, I mean, we are offensively, we are kind of a Princeton-ish team, with a lot of spacing and cutting. And, I know the game's kind of evolved from, I don't know if it's as much Canfield basketball changing as it is the game is changing. I mean, we typically have shot a lot of threes. We play with a lot of space and pace. And, last year we pressed quite a bit, which I'm not sure was always a part of it, but it kind of fit our personnel with guys like Jake Delisio and Bryce, who were really, really good defenders at the top of our press. And, I think we're always going to be a pretty solid, hardcore man-to-man team. That's always kind of been a staple, but, I probably won't get away from that too much. I think offensively we are a little different than maybe we have been in the past, just because we probably play a little bit more of the modern game than maybe the traditional game. And that just, it fits our personnel, and to be honest with you, I think it's really fun for kids because the ball moves, and we have goals of like having 20 assists a night, and we want to keep our 3-to-2 ratio fairly even, and kids will get yelled at in practice more for not taking. We have a problem where I have to yell at our guys about not taking the good ones, instead of a lot of coaches have the trouble of telling their kids not to take the bad ones. So, the ball's going to move. We're going to play in space and pace and run, some of our spread action.
Coach, one of the big reasons why you've had so much postseason success is because the conference tests you every night you're in the AAC. Talk about this conference this year. What kind of things you expect out of the other 4 teams in it?
Well, I mean, Harding returns both bigs and some really good young guys. I think they've had a ton. Keelan's had a ton of success. I've known Keelan for a long time. When I was the head coach at Harding, Keelan was my right-hand man, and he's done a heck of a job, keeping that program at a high level. Won a district title last year, but they got the 2 bigs inside. They'll be very good. I think this will be Howland's, best team in a little while. They had some young guys. I think it's their junior class, if I'm not mistaken. Has some good numbers in it, but they return just about everybody, and I think Dan does a really good job with getting the most out of those guys. And I know, like, from a talent standpoint, they maybe haven't been near the top of the league, but they are a grind every single. I mean, you got to guard their flex, you got to guard their motion. They play well together, and they're tough. They're physical on the glass, and Austintown, I think, has. I think EJ Giles is probably maybe the most improved kid I've seen in a while. We saw them this fall a little bit in some open gyms, and he's really gotten better, kind of taking on that alpha role that they missed with Finkley last year. They had with Finkley last year. So I think Fitch is certainly formidable, and I thought the guy that did, with all due respect to the other 3 coaches that I just mentioned, I thought Steve Flores did an amazing job in year 1. Kind of taking those guys from, I don't know the exact number, but 7-ish wins to 12-ish wins. And they started out really hot, and they looked like they really had some spark and enjoyed playing for them. So I'm sure that's going to continue. I know they lost a lot of production, but I think when you start building that, building that foundation that I think Steve's built there, I think you start to kind of reload every year.
Obviously, we love the conference schedule, but Canfield doesn't back away from anybody when it comes to playing on the hardwood. Who's got you excited to maybe in the non-conference schedule that you've got a game or two circled to play them this year?
Two of my former assistants, when I was at McKinley, I had an assistant, Chet Harper, who's now the head coach at Alliance. They actually came to town last year and beat us. They have a lot of returning guys. They will be that's a very, very tough late in the season. We got that one kind of check mark just because they got us at home last year, and they have a really nice roster. They're well coached. And another former assistant of mine, Mark Comlank, is at JFK and has done amazing work there in I think this is his 10th year now. Multiple district championships, a couple of Elite Eight appearances, I believe. So those two games, but we added Louisville to this non-league schedule, who is the Division III returning state champ. Obviously, the last year's showdown early in the season, we were fortunate enough to go over to Ursuline and get a win. That'll be a highly emotional game on December 19th at our place. We play Poland twice, home and away, Cheney, East, Carrollton late in the year, East Liverpool middle of the year, and what I think is going to be a really good West Branch team as well. Gregory's back, Jackson's back, some of those guys off the football team are back. So, and then we have two early non-conference games. One at Copley, suburban Akron school. They're Division II or maybe Division III, usually pretty good, and Parma Holy Name in Cleveland. So I think off the top of my head, I got them all. Maybe missed one.
Jeez, man, that's impressive.
I'll probably give somebody bulletin board material if I forgot. Oh no! I just talked to Kerry Palermo. No, we got Mooney too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that would be.
You don't want to leave
board
them
material
off.
for Kerry. Yeah, no.
Palermo would absolutely use that in a heartbeat. Coach, one of the things I like to do with these previews, of course, is talk about the staff too. And I know you don't do anything by yourself, and you have a great crew behind you, whether it be the administration or your coaching staff that kind of help you build this program. So talk about the people that are working with you, the people that are behind the scenes that you couldn't do this without.
Well, first is Dylan O'Hara. He's kind of my right-hand man, varsity assistant. Dylan was a great player. Gerard, his dad, was a great coach in the Valley in the 90s. He was a Westminster College player for 4 years, was the PAC Player of the Year, I think in 2020 maybe. He's just an all-in guy in our program, does a phenomenal job, both sides of the ball, skill development, skill training. Chris Brooks, a 2020... I got a young staff, by the way. A 2020 South Range grad, or maybe 19, somewhere in there, and then went on to play at Grove City College. Chris and I kind of share an interesting fact. I think it'd be really hard to find two people that have this stat. Chris and I both played for the same high school coach and the same college coach 25 years apart.
Wow.
That's hard to do. I played for the legendary John Cullen in the late 90s. He played for John Cullen in the late teens. And then we both played for Steve Lammy. I was in Coach Lammy at Grove City College's first recruiting class, and Chris played 4 years there, graduating I think in 22-ish or 23-ish. But he's in his second year. He's our JV coach. They were 19-1, 20-1 last year, so he does a great job there. We hired the youngest guy on staff, Jake Schneider, who was, you may remember that name, as a kid who had a phenomenal junior year and then got a nasty football injury his senior year. He tried to give it a go in college basketball, but unfortunately that knee and the health of that knee just wouldn't hold up. So he's back at YSU going to school. He's coaching our freshmen. Our kids just love him. He's that perfect kind of go-between of being a player and a young guy, but then also getting into the coaching side of things. So those guys really look up to him because a lot of those guys still remember him playing. And then Rob Donahue is back with us. Rob's a varsity assistant, longtime Canfield guy, played for Canfield back in the early 90s when they were winning a lot of district titles. He's kind of my left-hand man with Dylan kind of being my right-hand man. And then I think we have the best strength and conditioning guy in all of Northeast Ohio when it comes to basketball. Joe Carbon played at Canfield in the mid-2000s and is just incredible with our basketball weight training program. We lift probably of the 52 weeks a year, we probably are in the weight room 35 to 40 of them. And even some of our guys who don't look strong, you should have seen them before they met Joe. And I think last year when you saw guys like Bryce and Jake and Drew and Ray and Ben, you could tell that they had spent a lot of time in that weight room. So incredible staff. They're not only good with the X's and O's, they're not only good with our players, but in all honesty, it's fun to go to the office every day. It's fun to go to the gym every day because you're doing it with guys who we all enjoy each other's presence. And I told him the other day, there's been a lot of wins, but there's also been a lot of laughs, and I just mean that from a friendship standpoint.
Coach, you've been on on both sides of the bench, obviously, as a player and now as a coach. Build us the perfect basketball player in your eyes, from mentality to character, all that stuff. What makes a great basketball player to you?
I think in today's world, I think the humility piece is sort of like first and foremost. I think the teammate is first and foremost. Um, we've all seen and watched a lot of really talented guys come along, but for whatever reason, they just weren't winners. And we haven't produced a lot of college basketball players at Canfield, but we have produced a lot of winning teams. And a lot of that, honestly, it just starts with the way a lot of our guys are raised at home. And we really haven't. Our chemistry in our locker room has been incredible the 3 years that I've been here. And, sure, some people might say, well, coach, you build that. Listen, you can't take selfish kids and kids who think about themselves and overnight form them into, some kind of great teammate. So I think the humility in the teammate is certainly the first and foremost thing. From a skill standpoint, obviously, if you can pass it, drive it, and shoot it, that I think that shooting piece is sort of the big one. I think anybody that can, I tell guys all the time that if you can really shoot it, I look like a fool for not playing you. We can teach you to guard. We can, we can motivate you to rebound and that kind of stuff. But the art of shooting is, I think first and foremost, because I think it just, I think it stretches the floor. I think gets a lot of your drivers to be able to get and score it at the rim. And we're never blessed with like super big kids at Canfield. We've had some nice, decent size, but the game at the rim now is really off the dribble and off the drive. And if you don't have shooters to space the floor, you're kind of stuck. So, if you're a humble teammate who can make shots, um, sorry, I got that November voice, where you've been yelling for 3 straight weeks. Yeah, I think that's the foundation of it. And then everybody else, I think the big thing and I think you guys were kind of talking about before I jumped on with you, you're talking about like knowing your role. Like that's a lot harder in today's society than it's ever been. And that's not a knock like on our guys or our kids, but I think selling kids on a roll and being like, hey man, you are a lockdown defender, let's go. Because kids see the scoring and we work out with trainers and we work out with, and a lot of little things get lost in all that. And, guys who talk their butts off defensively, guys who are constantly engaged and never miss assignments. If you have to switch defenses or switch coverages or switch something, guys who are fully engaged, those are the guys we look for, so I think that would be the 3 big ones.
Flip side of that question, I'll ask, what kind of qualities do you try to grab from to make the perfect coach? What kind of coaching qualities do you always try to strive to be?
Well, I lead by my personal mantra is hands, head, and heart. And I think your hands kind of represent how much you're willing to get in and grind and dig in your program, and whether it be at the middle school or the elementary levels, and the fundraising, the booster club, which I have an amazing one. Shout out to them. And then the head part is just like, how smart of a basketball guy are you? How much can you scheme, X and O, all that stuff that people kind of see on the, roster management, some of those decision making. And then the other is your heart, like how passionate are you about your program? How passionate are you about your kids? How passionate are you about the game? I just read a quote from a guy who runs, a lot of social media coaching kind of sites. And he says, the biggest job hack in coaching is love what you do. And I've always loved what I've done, but I seem to love it a little more here because I'm from Canfield. I know a lot of our kids. I've known a lot of these families for my whole life. Graduated with them, played with them, and so I think that like hands, head, and heart kind of drive me. But I think too, you got to ever evolve. And that was one thing I learned from the guy that I played for and the guy that I worked for a year, and John Cullen. Coach Cullen always was evolving. He never got stuck in his ways. He never played the game or did things the way it used to be just because that's the way it used to be. And so as we go on this coaching journey, you throw out all the stuff that doesn't work and you try to grab onto as much stuff that fits your program, you yourself as a coach, and the talent around you. And I think probably the biggest growth in my career has been, and I'm lucky because I have guys like Dylan and Chris and Rob. Is just to deflect some of that responsibility off myself and delegate some of that stuff. I think early in my coaching career, I know I was a micromanager, and I think that now that I've gotten more comfortable in my style, and I've got guys around me multiple guys around me that kind of fit our philosophy. I've been able to delegate that, so which hopefully makes the shelf life for me a little longer. Because at the pace I was going early in my career, I'm surprised I'm still living.
Jeez. Well, Coach, if the hack is loving what you do,
it's a stressful gig.
Yeah, a little bit. The longest season of the year, and you do a fine job of making your way through it and making your team better men and better basketball players as well. If the hack is loving what you do, it certainly shows with what you bring to the table each and every night. We're so grateful that you're able to spend some time with us today. Please don't be a stranger, and thank you for all you do, not just for Canfield, but for the game of basketball here in the region.
Appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, head basketball coach at Canfield. It's